I'm not sure why people haven't learned by now, but when information gets put out, especially from the likes of Mike Coppinger, which people like to call him Mike Cappinger for a reason, it's best to kind of sit back and wait till you get all the information before just running with a story. People have been saying in the last day or so that Martin is ducking Shakur Stevenson and that he turned down the fight when he had previously agreed to it. Yet the only person that's really been saying anything about this fight and putting information out there about this fight in the media has been Top Rank, either Top Rank or those affiliated with them from ESPN, like Mike Coppinger, or Campinger, like to call him. Someone who's known to put out misinformation, someone who's known to put out half-truths, or just straight up put out just blatant lies, and information just comes out to be completely false. And this is somebody that's done it over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's not like this is like, oh, it's been like only just one or two times where he's done this. He's done this on many different occasions. On many, many, many different occasions. So by now, people should know not to listen to him, especially when it pertains to things that have to do with PBC. He's not even allowed to go as press to any PBC events. That's in a space where they're at. So to believe something that someone like him has to say, I think it's off base. Like, people need to kind of calm down, and you need to get all the information before you come up, before you decide on what exactly is going on. Information was put out that these two were negotiating and they had come to terms. This came from ESPN. This came from Top Rank. This didn't come from the WBC. This didn't come from PBC. Didn't come from Martin, from his promoter Earl Spence. None of that. We didn't hear anything from that side. Which what they usually do is when they're negotiating, they stay quiet. Even with the Earl Spence, Terrence Crawford, when BS was being put out, Earl Spence still stayed quiet. Later on, we found out what was actually going on, and we found out that a lot of the information that was put out by some people on YouTube and social media, and certain people, who are like on ESPNs and things of that nature, we found out that what they were saying was actually, the information they were putting out was actually false, and they pretty much had direct access to Terrence Crawford, and they were putting out things that put him in a good light. So we should know by now not to listen to what they have to say. Then after supposedly they came out, they had negotiated everything. Then supposedly everything was all set. They canceled the purse bid. They what else was it? They put out the date. Like, why would you put out a date and a venue when you haven't even had the contract signed? Usually everything, all the dots are crossed, all the dots are, whatever how it goes. You cross the T, whatever. Dot the I's, cross the T's. All that stuff is done. Then you put out the information. Like, Shakur put out the information. Martin will put out the information. Everybody will put out the information for the date and the venue and all that stuff. But that wasn't done. That wasn't done. That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. So then all of a sudden it's, and this, Mike Coppinger also said this, that, everything's all set, they're ready to go. And all of a sudden, we sent him the contract, and, they said they were no longer interested in it, and they didn't sign the contract. Hold on. But I thought everything was done. And if you're going to put out information like that, why would you put out information like that if your negotiations weren't complete and the contracts weren't signed? And then now you have Martin coming out saying that, nah, man, why would I take, chump change to fight this dude? Which is telling me, regardless of what anybody might think of, what, is a certain amount that he should take or whatever it is. What that's telling me is that they never finished negotiations. They never came to terms. That's what that's telling me. And just because you're mandated to do the fight doesn't mean that, I'm just going to take whatever. When it comes to particular fights, you're going to put a worth on that fight or a worth on that particular person that you're facing, especially when you're in the space where you're looking at a Gervonta Tank Davis fight probably within the next 12 months. He fights Isaac Cruz and beats Isaac Cruz. Who exactly is he fighting? He's not going up to 140 pounds to fight anybody. Top Rank is not letting him fight Shakur Stevenson. And you know why? Because they're not going to take the percentile split that they would have to take to fight Tank Davis. They're not going to take that 20% whatever it might be, 20% that's probably going to be. Even though it's going to be more money than Shakur's ever made in his whole life, like, because they always like to say that it's more money than you've ever made in your whole life. Even though that's the case, he's not going to take that. When it came to him and Devin Haney, it's the same type of thing. Okay, you had the ability to fight, supposedly, because Devin was never going to fight him. But anyway, you had the ability to fight for 20, for all the belts and to be undisputed, where you were going to make at least your minimum, which is probably like 2-3 million. You were going to make 3 million plus. You were going to make that, for undisputed. And you said no, because at the end of the day, you said, with a fight of that caliber, I'm worth more than that. It doesn't matter if it's, quote, more than what I've made. For a fight of that caliber, this is my expectations of that fight. When it comes to somebody like a Gervonta Tank Davis, he has an expectation of how much he wants to get paid for that fight. And if those finances don't meet that expectation, he's not going to do it. That's why he had made that, when he was putting out an example, he said, shit, why would I fight for 8 million for 1 year when next year I can fight for 20 for the same person for 20 million? Well, it's the same. You're putting out all these concepts and your actions are showing that, hey, this is how I do things when it pertains to these particular type of situations. But then when somebody's coming at you the same way, then all of a sudden it's a duck and it's a problem, because in that situation, you're getting what you want. So you're fine. You're getting the finances that you want. It's your side is holding the event. So you're going to be protected. They're going to make sure the judges and everything's on your side. They're going to make sure you're good. He's going to have to come over to you to make this happen. So you're fine, but then he might be looking at it like, nah, absolutely not. This is what I want. And then your team's unwilling to give him what he wants in order to make the fight happen. They're unwilling to give him what he wants in order to make the fight happen. And they're not letting you go over there to fight him. They're going to want to keep you in house. They're not going to want you to go over there. So we don't know. It could be that. So we don't know what exactly is going on. Or unless he might have a bigger fight coming up. I don't think he'd be fighting Tank next. I still think that's something they would have down the line. But regardless, it sounds to me as if the fight was never finished as far as negotiating it. It never was finished. And just because something is mandated, just because he says, hey, I want to fight this particular person, it doesn't mean that I'm going to fight him for whatever. Even with Shakur, he wants to fight Tank. He's not going to just fight him for whatever. He's not. He's just not going to fight him for whatever piece of money that's given to him. Even people used to say, Leo Santa Cruz, he's scared of Gary Russell Jr., scared of Gary Justin Jr. No, he probably had a set amount of money in his head where it's like, if I'm taking on that level of competition, I need this kind of monetary gain from it. When it came to Tank Davis, a way more dangerous fighter than Gary Russell Jr., he took that fight because monetarily, he was going to be paid what he thought he was worth for that particular fight. If he wasn't, he wouldn't have faced him either. He wouldn't have faced him. They ended up having a good gate and a great pay-per-view. And for those two, I'm sure it was a 50-50 split at that time for where they both were at that time in their careers, or something close to that. And he got paid. He got his money. When it came to Ryan Garcia said, hey, I'm not going to fight Devin Haney for the amount of money that you're offering me. F that. I'm not doing that. That's not worth it for me. I'm going to need to be getting paid more than what they're offering me. And he couldn't get the type of money that he believed that fight was worth. And he waited. 2 years later, he got the fight that he wanted in Gervonta Tank Davis and monetarily got paid what he wanted to get paid for that fight. He ended up making $30 million. That man in one fight has made more money than Devin Haney, plus 10 million plus more than Devin Haney's made his entire career in one fight. And that's by saying, no, I'm going to wait. I'm going to do that level of fight. I'm going to make sure I'm financially paid for it the way I want to get paid for it. I'm going to get what I believe I'm worth when it comes to a fight of that magnitude. And he did. He got paid. Devin Haney's going to have to make another probably 10 plus million to equal what Ryan Garcia made in that one fight. 10 plus million more. He got work to do. He got fights to go to make that money that Ryan Garcia made in that one fight. Got a while to go. And even Devin Haney, if supposedly he was going to fight Shakur, he said, no, I need for that fight of that magnitude, I need 75%. He didn't need 75% for Lomachenko. Lomachenko got like 40-something% for that fight. He didn't need 45% for Lomachenko. He didn't need 75% for Lomachenko. But for a fight of this magnitude against that caliber opponent fighter, he said, I'm not fighting for less than 75% of whatever the pot was that was there. I'm not fighting for less than that. And if he can't do that, forget that. I'm gonna move on. Because I saw the last pay-per-views. I know I don't sell pay-per-views like that. The other gate wasn't all that. Out of this money right here is what I can guarantee, what I can definitely count on. And I want 75%. And if I can't get 75% of that, I'm moving on. He put a monetary number on that fight of what he thought he should get paid for. Shakur Stevenson put a monetary number on that fight for what he believed he must get paid in order to do that fight. So this same person can't do that. All these other situations where other people have done that, but then turn around and then because it's Martin, all of a sudden he must just take whatever. This whole because it's more money than he's made in his whole life. Like these fucking people always say, no shit. When you're facing that level of competition, you're gonna get paid more than that you made in your entire life. No ish, but how much more? How much more can you end up getting in the next 12 months? In the next 24 months? Because fights like that, even if you win, can take fights out of your career. When you're fighting people of that caliber. Even when you win, you could lose fights out of your career. Which is money that you can use out of your career. So when you get put into those spaces, you need to get everything that you believe you're worth and what you can get. Period. Absolute period. It's kind of funny to me seeing Terrence Crawford fans trying to say that, oh, he's a ducker from that, if it was something like that. A man unless he forget what he was worth, he's like, I'm gonna get paid substantially more than what I'm worth in order for me to fight what's called Earl Spence. So I'm not gonna fight him at all. He's gonna have to bend over backwards. Spence said, I'll bend, but I won't break. He had to break in order for that fight with Crawford to be made. Put himself in an effed up situation physically, gave up monetarily way more money than he should have gave him. They gave control. He had way more control over the event than he should have had. All that. He even had to walk out second as a man that's doing $5 million at the gate. The $5 million at the gate. That's man that's doing 300,000 plus pay-per-views. Had 3 belts. He walked out second. He gave up all that to make, but that's what he had to do in order to make that fight happen, because that dude wasn't going to fight unless he got all that. So for Terrence Crawford fan, you need to shut the F up. Be quiet. Okay, go over there in the corner somewhere. Yeah, I have no room to speak at all. Shakur Stevenson, if this is the case and it's off the finance or whatever it is, he has no room to speak himself. He has no room to speak himself, because if this is what really happened, he's doing the same thing that you did. He's making sure that he gets what he believes is his worth. And just because in this particular situation, you're the Devin Haney and he's the Shakur Stevenson in that situation, doesn't mean now all of a sudden we're supposed to just brush everything off. What's good for the goose is goose for the gander, whatever that saying is, But that's what it is. So I would just say we need to kind of wait a little bit and get more information and find out exactly what's going on before really making judgments on anything when it comes to this. Because like I said, Mike Coppinger, Top Ranks, taking the information coming from them, that's not the way to go. That's not smart. That's stupid. Like it's happened too many times. People are grown men. We are grown people, man. How many times? How many times does this happen before you finally get into the space where you're like, you know what? Let me chill. Let me relax. Let me just relax for a second and just kind of wait to see what's going on. But we'll see. But for now, like, subscribe, share. I'm out.